I'm here to read you a book today called The Winter Warming. Look up into the sky. Can you see the rainbow? It arches like a bridge over the hills and comes down into Nutshell Wood. At the end of the rainbow, deep in the wood, a tiny magical village is appearing. That village is Rainbow's End. Rainbow's End can only be seen by humans when a rainbow is in the sky. Otherwise, it's invisible to everyone except the gnomes who live there and the woodland animals. The gnomes of Rainbow's End are jolly little folk who are always busy. Lots of exciting and interesting things happen in the village, and no one is ever bored. This book tells the story of something that happened there. A little bird told me. The Winter Warming by Jane Patience. One fresh spring morning, Dewey Hornbeam and his daughter Hazel were out as usual, gathering ladles of dew from the wild woodland flowers. Although winter now seemed far away, they were already preparing for the winter warming feast, which took place every year on Egg Hill in Rainbow's End. The winter warming was a bright spot in the midwinter when the days were short and the nights long and dark. Everyone looked forward to it with great excitement, especially the children. The summer had gone by, and now winter was really here. In the cellar of Hornbeam House, Dewey and his wife Posy surveyed their stock of barrels. There were many different kinds of dew, each named after the flower it had been gathered from, and each with its own distinctive flavor. "Well, Posy," said Dewey, "which three shall we take this year?" "It's such a difficult choice," Posy replied. "The May bluebell dew was especially nice this year, but then the April primrose was very good too." Posy and Dewey decided to take the blue maybell, April primrose, and June campion dews to the winter warming. Dewey loaded up the cart while Hazel harnessed their hedgehog, whose name was Parsley, since this herb was her favorite. This was a tricky job because Parsley's spikes got in the way, but she was a very patient and gentle creature and stood quietly while Hazel put on her bridle. Then they were off. Although the feast wasn't until the next evening, Dewey always delivered the barrels a day early to allow the dew inside to settle after the bumpy cart ride. As the cart went along the track, one of the wheels came loose and the cart fell onto one side with an awful crash. The barrels of dew rolled off the cart and down the steep hill with a dreadful rumbling sound like thunder. Some of them splashed into the stream and sunk out of sight, while the barrel of April primrose went crashing through the door of the bakery, where Flapjack, the baker, was putting the finishing touches on the acorn bread for the feast. "Oh no," he cried. "My bread's all ruined, and there are no more acorns left in the town stores." As Dewey and Hazel stood by the stream, wondering how they could retrieve the sunken barrels, they heard a plopping sound and saw the small head of an otter bob up out of the water. "Don't look so glum," the otter said. "I'll get my friends to help, and we'll have your barrels on dry land in no time." Hazel was sent to fetch a rope from the cart, and when she returned, she was accompanied by Bristly Oaksbeard, the blacksmith, who had come to lend a hand. The otters dived down into the water, into the bottom of the stream, and tied one end of the rope around the end of the barrels. Then the gnomes pulled it up onto the bank. Soon all the barrels had been rescued. "Oh, thank you for your help," Dewey said to the otters. "I only wish there was some way of replacing the acorn bread, too." None of them noticed the little face that peered down at them from the branches of a nearby tree. Later that afternoon, a chattering procession of squirrels came scampering into town, each carrying a few acorns wrapped in a tiny leaf bag. "We've brought you these acorns from our own winter stores," said their leader. "We heard of your accident this morning and would not like the gnome folk to be without acorn bread at their feast of the winter warming." All through the night, Dusty Miller worked hard to grind the acorns into flour in his windmill. Down at the bakery the next morning, Flapjack made the flour into lots of tiny loaves of sweet-smelling acorn bread, ready for the feast that evening. At last the sun disappeared behind the trees, the bonfire was lit on Egg Hill, and winter warming began. Every gnome from Rainbow's End was there, and the otters and squirrels had all been invited as special guests. Far away from the window of a farmhouse where human folk lived, a small girl thought she saw a glow like firelight in the nutshell wood. I wonder what that could be, she thought, as she put out the light and climbed into bed. She slept and dreamed of fairies, but in Rainbow's End the gnomes ate and drank and sang and danced until dawn. And that's the end. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Stay healthy.